America, a nation that once stood as the global symbol of liberty, democracy, and individual rights, is now facing a crisis so deep, so unnervingly familiar, that many fear it may be on the brink of a second civil war. This isn't just media exaggeration. In the past 72 hours, the United States has witnessed scenes that resemble a dystopian novel. Armored vehicles on residential streets, mass arrests without warrants, and federal agents storming immigrant neighborhoods as if they were battlegrounds. But to truly understand how America reached this point, we must rewind a few days. While much of the world was preoccupied with religious festivities and Eid holidays, something deeply unsettling began to unfold in California. Former President Donald Trump, never shy of controversy, gave a direct order to ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to initiate a sweeping operation in Los Angeles. The target, undocumented immigrants. The method, raw force. Over the span of 1 week, federal agents carried out coordinated raids on restaurants, clothing stores, bakeries, and even donut shops. More than 118 people were arrested, and in one single day, Saturday alone, 44 individuals were taken into custody. Yet, the numbers only tell part of the story. What really shook the nation was the manner in which these arrests took place. Picture this: heavily armed federal units spilling out of blacked-out SUVs, surrounding businesses without warning, dragging people away in front of their co-workers, customers, and children. No warrants, no explanations, no room for protest. These weren't isolated incidents. This was a strategy. And for many watching, it felt less like law enforcement and more like an occupation. The America the world knew, the so-called land of opportunity, was showing a darker face. What makes it even more concerning is the demographic reality of Los Angeles. Nearly 70% of the city's residents are either Latino or of immigrant descent. In effect, this crackdown was targeting the heart of the community, and it didn't take long for the reaction to come. Thousands poured into the streets, holding signs, chanting slogans, and demanding justice. The scale of the protests quickly rivaled the 2020 Black Lives Matter demonstrations following the murder of George Floyd. But this time, the stakes seemed even higher. What began as peaceful resistance escalated into full-blown confrontations. Protesters hurled Molotov cocktails, set vehicles on fire, and used fireworks as improvised weapons against the police. Sirens echoed across downtown, helicopters hovered overhead, and for those living in the city, it felt like war had arrived on their doorstep. Then came the next flashpoint. In a move that many saw as dangerously authoritarian, Trump invoked Title X, a federal law that allows the president to deploy military forces without state approval. Overnight, 2,000 National Guard troops were sent into Los Angeles, not with the governor's consent but against it. California Governor Gavin Newsom condemned the move as a political stunt, but the message was clear. The federal government was no longer asking states for permission. This moment marks a dangerous shift in the balance of power. The United States is called the United States for a reason. Each state has its own government, its own laws, and its own authority. What Trump did was override that foundation, sending troops into a state without its consent, treating Los Angeles as if it were a rebellious territory instead of a functioning democratic region. It's the kind of action we usually associate with dictatorships or countries in political collapse. And it has set a precedent that could haunt American democracy for years. Even more chilling was what came next. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth didn't stop at National Guard deployment. He publicly stated that if protests continued, the Marines, yes, the same soldiers trained for warfare in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam, would be sent into American streets. Think about that. Soldiers who were once fighting foreign enemies could now be ordered to suppress U.S. citizens, protesters, immigrant families, students, parents. Is this the role of a military in a free society? Across California, fear began to spread. Not just among immigrants, but among average citizens. What are the limits? Where does this end? Is criticism now dangerous? Is protest illegal? Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass voiced grave concern, warning that this deployment could escalate the situation to the point of civil war. And for many, those words no longer felt like hyperbole. But this raises a deeper question. Why is this happening now? Why escalate tensions in such a volatile manner? For those who followed Trump's political career, the answer isn't surprising. His campaign, and often his governance, thrived on division. By provoking conflict, by creating chaos, he positions himself as the savior. the strong man who alone can restore order. It's a familiar tactic in history. Stir up the storm, then offer yourself as the only umbrella. And in a country dealing with inflation, political division, cultural polarization, and a growing sense of economic uncertainty, fear is a powerful tool. Behind the military uniforms and press conferences lies a more alarming reality. This isn't just an immigration issue anymore. It's a constitutional crisis in the making. When federal forces are deployed unilaterally, when state sovereignty is ignored, when peaceful protest is treated as rebellion, what remains of a democracy? How far can a nation stretch its values before they snap? Let's not forget, the U.S. military was designed to protect against foreign threats. Its presence on American soil against American citizens is meant to be an absolute last resort, reserved for times of insurrection or national collapse. Yet now it is being considered for political posturing. The danger here isn't just immediate, it's foundational. Trump's ambitions are clear. He wants a legacy of dominance. He wants to be remembered not just as a former president, but as a transformative figure in American history, even if that transformation comes at the cost of civil rights, unity, and peace. And for immigrants, people of color, and working-class communities, this transformation doesn't feel like leadership. It feels like persecution. The truth is, America is at a crossroads. One path leads toward greater division, militarization, and authoritarian control. The other demands reflection, reform, and the courage to stand against the erosion of democratic norms. It's not just politicians who must choose. It's the people. Every voter, every community, every voice. So as we watch the smoke rise over Los Angeles, we must ask, is this the country the Founding Fathers envisioned? Is this the future we accept? Or is it time to rediscover the principles of justice, equality, and freedom, not as slogans, but as commitments worth defending? Because if history has taught us anything, it's this. Nations don't fall in a single day. They crumble slowly, moment by moment, while people look the other way.